Buongiorno or buonasera to everyone. Hello, this is Rubens from Gardelli Specialty Coffees. Today I would like to talk about a subject that is on my mind since the start of January 2023, where I sent this protocol to a collaborator in Ethiopia and in Guatemala, producing a coffee lot using this method. There is nothing new about what I'm explaining to you right now. I just want to give you some insight notes or opinions. Maybe you know it, maybe you don't know, but I call it the shade dried, or super slow drying. So it was around 4 or 5 years ago when I watched on Reco on YouTube, a Reco symposium that was giving a speech, person that I don't remember the name, but it was a scientist from a university in Brazil that made a discovery, a research about the drying and the impact of certain level of speed of drying to the shelf life. And I remember precisely what a strong and fast drying create or give to the bean structure of the coffee bean structure. So I imagine myself the cellular structure of the bean like the hive of the bees. We know that inside the hives there are drops of the honey that is full of nutrients but full of flavors and aroma and flavors that we love. And depending on what flowers the bees went, the flavor can change, and they does definitely indeed change, indeed. And so imagine this. It was showing a picture of those little droplets of water plus content of aromas and flavor inside this hive. In the case of a high speed drying, these drops of flavor were going like the walls of the hive, of the cellular structure of the cell, are destroyed. So these drops find a good no force of not resistance of going outside. So they go outside and they oxidate much faster. And this is a thing that I noticed, especially from certain countries. The first country that comes to my mind is classic washed Colombians. My real life experience over more than 10 years of buying green coffee and roasting tells me that the Colombians washed are it's really probable that the shelf life is no longer than 3-4 months. Then from the month of arrival in Europe, which is usually January of each year, okay? I noticed that when May, June arrives, the flavors are going to fade away, giving to the cup this harsh taste that it reminds me eating a paper, like the cardboard taste. That's how my mind associates to the fading of flavors that were present but in few months are gone. So after watching this Reco symposium, I understood why. Because through the parabolic traditional fast drying method of Colombia, it created this parabolic is like a greenhouse. Greenhouse effect is creating more heat and fast drying. And this fast drying is damaging, it's creating damage to the cellular walls of the beans. So to the opposite side, there is the slow drying. And slow drying means the heat applied shall be soft, I would say. I will give you this word. And soft heat, it reminds me of shade drying. So that's what I give this protocol to my friend Tamiru, and my wife farms producer. My wife farm like a manager of the farm, and I give this protocol to them in order to dry the cherries of the upcoming lots in this way. So creating a super slow drying that Tamiru told me is lasting more than 25 days. It's like super slow. And I still don't know the final result, but kind of I know it. I know what is gonna give to the cup. First of all, shelf life, because in this way we prevent the cell walls structure. So all the drops of flavors and aroma coming from the terroir, the variety, the altitude, many factors, the nutrients, the nutrition of the plants during the year is going to be present. But never mind, in the real life there are rain happens, and it can happen during the night when everyone is sleeping. It can happen immediately. I've been in Uganda a few times, and I know in high altitude how fast it's changed. It reminds me the weather of London, like sunny, 10 minutes rain, and then 10 minutes sunny again. So it's like, oh my God. So it's like a kind of, I would say, it's pain in the, you understand what I mean? Managing this kind of weather. But the difficult thing happens in real life, and this is the challenge that is facing, especially in the very challenging, very humid climate, especially like Guatemala. Ethiopia, it's easier, let's say, the weather condition, but nevertheless, you must have a person right in the field, always be ready to cover the beans, because you don't want the humidity going back, because that creates taint in the final cup. Different taint, it depends, but it's like kind of mold. It creates mold, definitely. So during the night, what we are going to do is covering. This is I'm not saying anything new. We are covering the beans to prevent also the humidity from the night, creating droplets that get inside the dried pods, the dried cherries, going back to the dried cherry. We want to avoid that. During the day, I will show you, during this speech you are seeing right now, how it is done with really simple materials that are available even in countries where are not really developed. So just want to give you an insight. And this little, let's call it little, it's not little, but little advancement on the drying stage give you a huge impact on the final cup without adding nothing that the nature gave to the cherries. We are not adding any, you know what I'm talking about, like bacteria or anaerobic or whatever. No, I'm talking about this experiment are processed with a classic natural. Take the cherries from the tree, leave it on the raised bed. That's it, nothing else. And I'm super excited to be able to taste, I believe in 2-3 weeks from now. The first samples are coming from Guatemala, and I hope from Ethiopia as well. Because this year, in Guatemala for sure, the crop is late. So more or less they said 20 to 30 days later than 1 year before. And I believe is in Ethiopia as well. All right, thanks for listening to this. I hope you find interesting the information I share with you. And see you soon to the next news. Ciao, bye bye.